Hello everyone, my name is John Bussard. I'm an HPE Business Transformation Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support HPE servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular HPE PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management interface. Today we're going to continue on our discussion with HPE's Proliant Gen10 Plus series of systems. And today we're going to focus in on the Proliant DL325 Gen10 Plus systems. So as this slide indicates, we're delivering 2 processor performance at 1 processor economics. So a DL325 Gen10 Plus system is a 1U server that's based on a single EPYC AMD processor. But because the new EPYC AMD processors can have high core counts, up to 64 cores in this system, we have the ability to be able to greatly expand our capabilities down to our applications or even our virtualization stack. And I know VMware has changed some of their licensing schemes, but you'll still find the economics within this makes it a desirable solution. Right. In addition to having up to 64 cores, we get some other advancements within the technology solutions that are wrapped around AMD, such as the higher memory capabilities, the faster memory, as well as PCIe Gen 4 capabilities within the system. So it's a lot of power in a 1U form factor. We also have the ability to have a great amount of storage within the system. So certainly there are some basic configurations around storage that you'd come to expect in an HP 1U server, but there are options to be able to get the system configured with up to 24 small form factor drives. And there are large form factor options as well within this system. So again, a lot of power, right, in a small form factor in a 1U based system based on AMD EPYC processors. So with all that being said, let's unbox this system.
Here's the box for our DL325 Gen10 Plus server. As always, it's been opened up, but I've put everything back together just so this should be your experience. Another thing to note about this system is a BTO system. It did go through a configuration option where they added some more RAM, a power supply, and some drives, so we'll hopefully put everything back together inside the system. This is also a short version of the DL325 Gen10 Plus. This is available through BTO as well as CTO, or configure to order process. There is a long version of this system that's also available through the CTO process. It holds more drives, like 12 large form factor drives or 24 small form factor drive. The long version of this system, it definitely needs a deeper rack, which kind of brings us to our rails. These are the rails that are inside the system. They're the standard rails. You click on the side, right, and then you kind of put these in the rack and you slide everything on in. But just keep in mind that the long version is going to definitely need a deeper rack in order to be able to store the extra drives. So over here is a little bit of documentation, nothing too crazy. Power cable here. And this looks like it's the extra accessories they did from the upgrade, so the extra hard drive fillers, the power supply filler, as well as the power cable for the original power supply. We've got some packing over here, and over here, a little bit of cardboard, as well as some protective packing up there. Now there is some protective cardboard in the front as well as the back of this system to protect it a little bit. So let me pull this out and we'll look at the front and back as well as the inside of the system. Okay, here's the front of our DL325 Gen10 Plus server. This system has 8 small form factor drives, and they're configured into 2 boxes based on this diagram over here. So this right here would be the first box, and the second box would be over here. Up here, I can install an optical drive if I'm still using optical drives. There are many great ways to install your operating system or hypervisor on this system. You could use optical drives. I tend to use iLO in virtual media. Some people are using USB thumb drives, but that's an option that's available. You can also put hard drives up here as well if you wanted to. They do make a large form factor version of this system, and I'll have 4 large form factor drives across the front of this, and on the top you could put an optical drive as well if you wanted to. Up here is your default ILO username and password, which obviously can be changed, as well as your serial number. Over here is your power button, some status indicators. Up top is a USB 3 port, as well as an ILO port for offloading log files if you want to. So my system here has a couple SSD drives in here, and I'll give you a quick look at that. So if you're doing NVMe today in a current Gen 10 system, you'll have what they call a U.2 backplane for your drives. Now, you can get a U.2 backplane to be able to hold those drives in the system, but the future really is moving to U.3. Right, and that'll be another NVMe backplane, but it should be able to support tri-mode. So we'll have one backplane to be able to support NVMe, SATA, as well as SAS drives inside this system. And right now we have different backplanes in order to be able to accommodate. So it's something you want to pay attention to as you configure this. You know, choose your options well, because you're going to need U.3 drives to obviously go to U.3 backplane. All right, so let's take a look at the back of the system. Okay, here's the back of our DL325 Gen 10 Plus server. I have it configured with redundant power supplies. Obviously, they did that as a part of the config. Purple means hot pluggable, so why don't we pull out this drive here so I can pull this drive out while the system's up and running. All right, to replace a failed power supply or something like that. This is a pretty standard power supply. Let's see, over here I have my OCP 3.0 ports, so this replaces FlexLAM, and we'll look at that a little deeper once we get inside. This has 4 1-gig connections on it right now. Here's my VGA port here, my ILO port, a couple USB 3 ports. Looks like you can configure this with a serial port if you want to. And then up top I have my PCI Express bays. So up here I have a PCI Express full height slot, and then I got a half height slot over here. That comes standard with the system. You can add a third slot if you wanted to, and that'll be low profile. If only one full height slot is not enough for you, you can get this configured so it's full height if you wanted to. Right, but obviously that'll block this slot here. Alright, so that's the back of our system. Let's take a look at the inside. Okay, here's the top of our AMD EPYC-based DL325 server from HPE. Before I open this up, I kind of want to talk about this section. So this is a short version of the server. There's also a long version of the server, and I'll kind of get to that in a little bit. Now, you can get this configured with drive bays in here, which is what I have. So I have 8 drive bays in the front, as well as drive bays in here. Right, and what will happen is there's little clips here. It'll kind of open up here in a tray. You can get at these drives. Now, I would recommend, whether you're using this system, this or the long version of the system, is get real good cable management, because in order to be able to replace these drives, it will open up, but you will need to pull out the server in order to be able to get these drives. I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of look at the inside of this. Now, a proper configuration, a CTO configuration, this would latch back and this would rock up a little bit and be on hinges, but this one is not, because it wasn't configured from the factory. So to get these extra drives in this bay, you would need to have that configured at the factory. It's not an afterthought. I still thought it would be fun to kind of look inside this bay real quick so you can see what it looks like. So this would be the space where you'd have another tray for, in this case, 10 extra drives if they're small form factor. If they're large form factor, you have 4 up front here and then 4 in here as well. Now the difference between this system and the long system is this space would be doubled up. You'd have that other, you'd have 2 drawers that would open up from the top, right? And then obviously all this would get pushed back a little bit deeper, right? But this is a one-use server, and think about the amount of drives you can get in something like this. That's pretty incredible use of space, if you ask me. So again, this wasn't meant to come off, so let me see if I can put it back down. Just trying to show you something interesting. them down as well. Alright, next, like always, to get inside the main section, you got a little lever, got to pull that back. Right. And then if you look at the bottom, you will see the maintenance tag or sticker on this thing, which you kind of lay out the components on the motherboard, as well as drive bay configurations. It's handy to have. Now, one of the things that sticks out real quick for me is this is a single processor system. Right, so AMD's and their EPYC line of processors, their claim to fame is we got lots of cores at a lower cost. So this system can perform like a dual CPU system at single CPU economics. And obviously they were nice enough to fill this system up with a lot of memory for me. Another thing that's interesting that kind of stuck out to me is we've got a blank over here for fans. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fans installed. Certain configurations, they'll have these set up as high performance fans. Sometimes they'll put a fan in there. This configuration did not require it. Over here is the connector. So these fans are redundant. This is a purple connector, so that means I could get in here and pull this fan out while the system was running if this fan had failed on me. And we'll give you a quick look at that so you can see what that looks like. We'll plug this back in. Another interesting thing is the battery is a little bit different. So this is another battery that connects to the motherboard, powers all the other RAID controllers. All right, it provides backup for all the other RAID controllers. Let me take this out so we can look at this guy. So it is a little bit different. Cable kind of loops in here. So it's pretty flat. Good. That certainly is nice to see. Pop that back in. And so while we're on the battery for the RAID controllers, this is the RAID controller that we have installed. So this would be a P408i AROC controller. So the I is for onboard. AROC means it goes into the AROC slot. We'll pull that out. And then we've got a couple cables connected to this guy here. Okay, so this is this RAID controller. That's the slot here, and that's how it connects to the motherboard. We'll give you a good look at that. Tighten that back up. Over here is the riser. So this is the riser the system comes with. You can add a secondary riser over here. All right, and we can put a low profile card over here. So what we should do is probably take this out and let you look at this. All right, so this has got two 16X slots on it. And this is the default riser. So this one has space for one full height card and one low profile card. Now if you add the secondary riser, it'll be by default be low profile. You can convert it so this part and this part can be replaced. So you can put a full height card in there if you wanted to, but that will block this slot, so this will become unusable at that point, just so you're aware. I'll set that over here. Over here is the new OCP 3.0 port, and I have a 4-port 1 gig cards installed inside here, so it pops out with that little lever. It's cold pluggable. So I'll give you a look at that card real quick, just so you can see what it looks like. Now this slot is configured as a PCI Express 8X slot. OCP is supposed to be a standard out there. We'll see if it grabs on. Alright, again, this is 8X. Now, if you needed 16X, they'll reroute some of the lanes through a cable that'll connect from here to here. One of the things that I found kind of interesting is there's a lot of NVMe slots, or ports I should say, all over the place. Right? Although these two are listed as SATA only. Over here I've got a USB port, so USB 3 port for booting if I wanted to do that. Got her in there. There we go. Alright, so that is our DL325 Gen10 Plus based on AMD's EPYC processors. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for more videos.